I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Spy Family Season 2, Episode 7. This is going to be a very quick intro. We're back from vacation. We're trying to catch up on Spy Family, and we have a lot of that to do.
Yes.
Catching up, that is. And I
think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just because I'm excited for lots of Spy Family
I'm
content.
excited for the Sickle and Chain Barnaby fight.
I just like sickles. I think sickles are really cool.
I like chains. Ready?
Awesome.
Sweet. Okay, that was Spy Family, Season 2, Episode 7. I didn't want it to end.
I really didn't either.
I love this show.
I'm so happy that we have accumulated a few episodes to watch now since we had been away. I am so freaking excited.
Why? Just so we can go episode
Yes.
after episode? Yeah.
So
That's
that
the one
I don't
thing,
have
like-
to wait a week and I can just sit down and enjoy a chunk of Spy Family. I'm so happy about that.
I know. I missed it weekly though. Like the weeks that we weren't, able to watch it live.
It's I really honestly I don't want to say that I like take it for granted, but Spy Family puts you in this like mood, this secure, I would say like soft and comfortable place.
Definitely.
And it is really nice to have that even for 23 minutes once a week. But there's something about knowing that I'll get to just like immerse in it for longer that seems like it would be like going to a spa.
Yeah. Well, I like having a show that we watch, at least one show that isn't that's very feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we watched Bochi the Rock, which is
Mhm.
still one of my favorite shows, like hands down. But that dealt with a lot of other serious issues
Yeah.
occasionally too. And there's a lot of issues that the characters in this show and universe are dealing with that are serious in themselves, but the presentation of that is so well done
Mhm.
and so refreshing, and it feels like I could watch 1,000 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Like it feels so great, and it also like, because of the nature of it and how it's presented to me, I feel so like raw, I guess, in the emotions that I have towards the characters and what I want the outcome to be, because what comes with the nature of Anya being kind of like our protagonist is she's very fragile to me. Like I know she isn't like as a character, but as a kid, like I want not only her to be happy, but the family themselves to be happy. And it's not as simple as I want Yor to be in love with Lloyd and for them to have a real romance and then everything's happy. No, Yor has personal feelings that she needs to work through, that she needs to decide for herself what she wants and needs right now as an individual before she could ever truly go forth on like a path of romance and everything like that with Lloyd. Lloyd needs to do the same thing.
I absolutely adore, and if for storytelling, creating a story, anime, that there's this possibility to have shows that talk about serious things or have really deep concepts, themes, or ideas or parts of the narrative, and actually somewhat high stakes. I would say in this show, there's the highest stakes is probably emotionally for
Yeah.
a lot of the characters, and not necessarily like actually like death or being wounded, even though they have high stake jobs. But it's so cool that we could be watching multiple shows and they're created for a specific audience or a specific feeling for that audience, and you're able to add all these different things into your story and come out with a different it's like it's like a combination on like a lock or something, that you might do one number different than some other show does it, and it can have your desired effect on the audience. Like this show can have us think about or enjoy action scenes, like you're fighting someone in the same way we'd enjoy an action scene in an anime where we would actually see someone die or be like really wounded. and we can feel differently about it. And it's so cool that you could have like this algorithm or this like these different steps, but change one thing or one way that the tone is happening, how the tension feels for the audience. Maybe it's the soundtrack that you're really utilizing, that like can have this effect of it still being feel good instead of like unsettling tension within the viewer's
Yeah, yeah.
body. And I think it's just so incredible that there are people out there that can create such wildly different stories in how it makes the viewer or reader feel. And I just think that that's so impressive, and people are so freaking cool and creative, and I love what people can come up with.
Yeah.
And I think that that is a great segue to the like one of the main lines that I wrote down. It's not actually a good segue. As long as people continue to be people, there will still be war and killing.
It was a segue.
I
But
was like, oh, as long as there are people in this world, we'll be creating beautiful masterpieces, and they'll all be so unique and amazing and beautiful. What's achievable by the creativity of a unique
war, that's the
or
segue. Man, there were a lot of really good lines in this episode, and that was one of them for sure. I like that there is a lot of truth under both plots of Lloyd and Yor in terms of what the war has brought about and what realistically people are going to do with that. Like one of my favorite moments this episode is Lloyd talking about the unknown and what people choose to do with the knowledge of the unknown, whether they get into some false sense of like security of not knowing that is delusionment, or they try to have some false sense of confidence where they feel like there are no unknowns, and Lloyd's a person who's trying to accept that there are and face them head on. Like I love those lines of dialogue, but it makes me think, okay, what's the fourth option there? Because I love the point of view that Lloyd and Yor are going forth into the unknown and what they're choosing to do with it. But in my end game, sure, there are plenty of unknowns, but Lloyd and Yor are together with Anya. You know, what does that mean for Anya's safety? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I want this show to go, and I don't even want it to. Kind of I know that I want them to be happy, but
I'm not ready for it at the same
yeah.
time. Like I want it. I think that during season 1, I got to a point and I was rushing myself in terms of what I was wanting. I was
Yeah.
like ready for Lloyd and Yor to have like a romantic connection in moments. And then as soon as we kind of got the development of their relationship, or how, you know, interaction just with the two of them
Mhm.
towards the end of the season, I was kind of like, why am I wanting to rush this? Like,
I'm a bit scared.
I'm a bit scared, but I also think that there's so much more to, obviously what we're seeing in this season is there's so much more on an individual level that needs to be happening for these characters for it to ever possibly even in my wildest dreams turn into a romantic connection or relationship.
So to talk specifics, in the fight that Yor was having at the beginning of the episode, first of all, Anya had a great like interjection and idea that this is a circus performance. Anya is the MVP of the show and this episode, hands down. During that fight, Yor's legs become heavy.
Yes.
And upon recounting that situation, it seems like it's because of the fear of getting injured to a point where she wouldn't be able to explain the injury away, and that she wouldn't be able to live inside of her own home anymore. Now, if Yor comes to any type of conclusion that she wants to leave this world behind of being an assassin, if and whether that's leaving it behind and then just not telling Lloyd, or confessing that side of herself to Lloyd and leaving it behind, then I don't necessarily want that. In a perfect world, I do. In a perfect world where Yor does that and then Lloyd reciprocates, that's great. But I'm terrified of a world where Yor breaks out of that shell, takes a step into like the truth, and Lloyd doesn't. And he stays on his mission. That's scary.
We have these two characters that have these incredibly daring and scary jobs, but what is seemingly the scariest to them is what a normal person would see as normalcy, and the unknown of that. With the unknowns that Lloyd is talking about, we're having these thoughts of his overlapping with the fact that he's spending the whole day with a child.
Yeah.
And he is trying to figure out how to make that child happy. And it's a very like normal but frustrating experience to try to figure out like a real person but also a child and what they might be thinking, how to make them happy. But it's being complicated because it's like the mission, but this is also just something so personal and normal, and that the unknown, or the fear of the unknown for Lloyd, the most unknown could be having a normal life, because if he ever subjected himself to an acceptance, a place of acceptance that he wanted to stay in this family and get rid of his job, he's going to also then have to deal with the fear of knowing that he can't be involved in protecting that family as much as he would have been as Twilight.
Yeah.
Like, as Twilight, he has all of the information he needs. He is not attached to anything. Therefore, he can do whatever he needs to do to get the job done. All of that intel that he's given, all that free time for observation that he's given, the security and safety that he finds in that would be lost to him if he actually let himself be a family man. That unknown of like, how could I ever assure that my family would be safe in their day-to-day life if I dropped my job as a spy? That sounds terrifying.
I don't know. I feel like I'd have confidence still of the family being protected. It's just like the world in general, right? Like it would just be putting your focus on more of a like microscopic level.
But would you want to? Like, if you were like, but what about the other families out there? Like, I love my family this much. Think about the parents next door and how much they love their child. It'd be so hard, I would think, to deal with your fear of losing your family, but also knowing that you could possibly protect other people's families too, now that you know the feeling of that, like, love. And
so yes and no. I think that like I completely hear that and feel that, but I think it all goes out the window when you think about Anya. Like, I think that, okay, if it's just two adults thinking about it, that's one thing. But when it's something as important as this living, breathing person right in front of you.
As I've heard of people that have children, everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
Your kid, like, you do anything for that kid.
Yeah.
And that is what I've heard. And I definitely feel like I would do almost anything for my fur children, for our dog and our cats.
Oh, I was like, what? Never heard that. I don't like that. Dog and cat.
Our dog and our cats. That I would do a lot of things for them.
Yeah.
And so I will say that I bet I cannot begin to imagine how that would actually feel if it was like a real child.
I do know somebody who can feel what you do about your fur children.
Fur children.
Frankie. He's starting to really understand what fur children are for.
The benefit of yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to come live with me now?
That was
so crazy.
That
okay.
moment.
We have to talk about the leading into that moment.
It was
It
so
was so
good. It
good
was like it was the
because it
perfect
was
amount of
like,
time.
why is this happening right now? And that's why it was good because we had all these amazing visuals. This mood was being set with we're getting these great shots of her like center screen, reflection in the
That
mirror.
was a great shot with the phone
Everything
in
was
view.
so good and like tense, but also almost lonely and
Yeah,
sad. And it really fit with
great
the
music.
emotion of like what she was thinking about and dealing with. Like, isn't your family like camouflage? Why were her legs so heavy? Why is she scared now of getting hurt?
Yeah.
The stakes for her have gotten higher in terms of her job. Like before, she was able to do this because it met an end that she was satisfied with. She was able to financially care for her brother
Yep.
or protect him in this world. But now it is not kind of it's not as simple as it had been.
Mm-hmm.
And now she feels differently. Now she's so scared of getting hurt. And then we cut to Frankie and Bond. I was like, this choice, it was risky.
I
It
think
was a risky choice.
I was a
Why?
bit worried that they'd stick with Frankie as just the B plot of the
No,
episode, and like
so good. It was short. It
I
was so
this is
good.
coming from a Frankie enjoyer. I would have I
A
think been
Frankie
upset if it was the
enthusiast.
rest of the episode, and
No, I
I am
agree.
so happy
Thank
that
goodness it was like what? Like it was a minute.
it was perfect.
It was so random and it was so risky
I want
and
to
it
see
paid
more
off.
of it for sure, but I don't know in what way. I just want them to keep giving it to
I
me.
don't it's that same thing where I don't want to put too much pressure on like a Lloyd and your relationship.
Yeah.
I don't want to put too much pressure on Frankie content because I think it's so perfect when it happens that I'm like I don't want to put too much pressure on it because then what if it's not as perfect anymore if I'm asking for it too much? Because come on, like that was like a minute or less and it was like amazing chef's kiss, don't change anything.
The
Thank you for not giving me any more. It was the perfect amount in the weirdest place ever. It was perfect. I don't want to put any pressure on that because whatever they're doing is working.
I want Bond to develop such an affection for Frankie that he uses his ability to see the future to try to find a vision of Frankie and this other woman as like a happy family portrait and like just a Bond centric episode, kind of like what we saw earlier in the series, but with his main mission being finding Frankie love.
He'd be such a good wingman for that. I could see that being like a B plot. I really
Yep.
could.
And then it just ends up like the end of that adventure would be Bond failing, unfortunately, but Frankie realizes that the true gift is the friend that he made upon the way. All right, that's all I
I don't
have.
want it to fail though, but you're
You?
so right. Okay, yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.